interns next year as well, and also doing managing some apprentices in January, but probably less relevant for you guys, because basically apprentices are people who are not currently at university and they do like a hybrid work and university scheme. But if anyone is interested in that, let me know. And also cocktail drinker, shoe collector, because I think it's very important that we're all kind of our authentic self, I guess, for a better phrase. So I always like to say that. So what actually is a solutions architect? So it was interesting when Martini came on board, we had this conversation about like, do people actually know what a solutions architect is? And Martini, I feel really old, but I graduated 8 years ago now. And so I was asking Martine, like, what is kind of now being told at universities about kind of jobs in tech? And basically, it turns out solutions architect isn't really mentioned that much. So for anyone who doesn't really know, and actually, to be honest, the word solutions architect means very different things in very different companies. So I'd probably suspect AWS's solutions architect role is quite different to a lot of other companies. So in essence, my job is to be, I suppose, for a better word, a technical trusted advisor to my customers. So I have a multitude of different customers that I look after. They are mine, and I say mine alone, but as in I am their dedicated solutions architect. And essentially, my job is to design and architect, as the name suggests, anything in AWS that they want to do. And it could literally be from a whole data center migration, to AWS, or could be something more, I guess, I was going to say fun, but for a better word, like I have customers who are wanting to design sort of IoT solutions, some really cool ones around like climate change and sort of monitoring, I guess, like the changes in kind of like environmental factors, to people wanting to do machine learning for students and kind of more personalized learning, building Alexa skills, or it might be sort of designing a new database. So it really ranges, but my job is to basically work with them to design what they want on AWS. But then apart from that aspect, the role at AWS actually has loads of different components, and Marty, I'm sure, will tell you all about his experience, because I think a lot of people are surprised. It's a very it's customer facing for a start, so it's very different to say like software development, which I've done sort of more cloud engineering in the past and development where I was literally behind the scenes, and as much as I was on customer side, I never interacted with the customer really. It was very much got kind of like my Jira tickets with requirements, built stuff, and that was kind of it. Whereas this is very much like I talk to the customers on a daily basis. It's a lot kind of almost like business/technology, I suppose, because as well as obviously the technology aspect and like literally architecting it, sometimes they'll come and be like, I have this kind of like idea that I want to do, but I don't really know what. And so you're more discussing it with them as well. But then also the role, I get involved in so many things like this, like public speaking, talking to people like you, as you can kind of see the nice little pictures. So I went to Tech UK, which is basically the government body for technology in the UK, and I was presenting on chatbot architecture to use in the police. I've built demos. So you can see at the top there, nice little Lego. Basically, I did a smart car park. And of course, what better way to demo a smart car park than use Lego? I also do like lots of chats. So some of those pictures, and I did some podcasts as well. So you kind of get involved in like lots of different things. And what I really love about AWS is that if you want to get involved in something and you want to kind of get your teeth into it, like you're empowered to do so. So for me, a big thing was that I wanted experience in sort of managing, and I'm really sort of passionate about like early careers and early career talent. And so I basically said to my manager, I want to manage the interns this year. And he went, okay. So I did so. And then I've kind of now really, really loved it and kind of ran with that. And I'm designing the program for the whole of public sector now. So basically looking to, rather than sort of, I managed obviously just my team's interns, I'm looking now to kind of do it as a wider whole of public sector. And I'm actually working with commercial as well. So we're kind of split into public sector, commercial, and then global finance is kind of split into those three different areas. So yeah, basically, if you want to work on something, you can pretty much do it. So in terms of the internship program, I realized that it's not a very pretty slide, this at all. But essentially, this is the outline of the program. So for solutions architects in the UK, and I can't really comment on like outside of the UK because I'm not involved in that. But this was the program. So internships happen during the summer. At least for solutions architects. I know other sort of areas might do like spring or even 12 sort of month ones, but for ours, it's a summer internship. So it's roughly about 12 weeks, but we're quite flexible. So Natalia did 13 weeks. And if you want to do a little bit longer, we're really, really flexible. And start date is, again, really flexible. Natalia Martini started, I can't remember if it was like 2 weeks apart, I think. But again, super flexible. But roughly 12 weeks. And essentially what it is that you'll join a team. It doesn't necessarily have to be my team. We have obviously across public sector, we've got education customers, we've got government, national security, healthcare, NPO, but then there's also commercial as well, or finance if you're interested in that. So it can be a kind of a range across different customer segments. You join a customer vertical, unless you're really deep specialized in one particular area. There are specialist teams, but they don't often do internships just because of the nature of their work. But basically you join a team, and then it's very much a mixture of customer work, as you can see by that vertical. So you'll work with different SAs in that team on actual proper customer projects, going to what meetings, architecting, whatever you're kind of involved in at the time. But there's also some requirements. So to pass the internship, so you have to take the Solutions Architect Associate certification by the end of it. And so I ran like study sessions to help study for that. You also have to do a presentation, which is kind of like, it's called Awesome Builder 1. It's like a 101 presentation. Everybody who joins, even like me and even like a principal solutions architect, has to do it. It's kind of like a rite of passage in AWS. And then you're also given a project to do throughout your 12, 13 weeks. And I'm sure Martini can talk about what his project was, but it's to build something, and it's based on a real customer sort of problem. And then there's loads of other things you get involved with. So you can kind of see this is the program that I devised. So we did hackathons, Toastmasters, which is like public speaking. Natalia, actually, she's still even though she's left, she's still working on a project at the moment, which is kind of like the AWS user group, student user group, I should say, which kind of evolved into that. Lots and lots of different things they got involved with. So that's kind of the rough program. Martini, you'll probably be able to tell you as well. It was quite a lot. We kind of crammed everything in, I'd probably say. So you get involved in lots of different things. These were just some pictures that I wanted to put up very briefly just to kind of show. So Martini and Natalia on there. I'd like to think we had fun. So that was just mess around there. Martini, and I know there's a little slide, but he made an amazing YouTube channel that documented his experience. So he can talk about that, but that was that little, well, that camera is up there. And then the hackathon. So there's Martini presenting his kind of solution to basically the director of public sector solutions architecture and some other managers. So that was a really good day. Sorry, Martini, do you want to talk about your experience?
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Sorry, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can.
Great. So, hi, everybody. Thank you guys for coming. Just maybe give yourself a little bit of an introduction to me. So I went to King's College and I studied electrical engineering. And I previously interned as a software engineer at American Express over the summer before 21. And during my third year, I worked at a fintech startup called Raindrop, also as a software engineer. And having done these two experiences, I realized that I wanted to do more than just software engineering. I think a lot of you guys might find something similar where you're probably a bit more entrepreneurial and you want to, see the business side of stuff. And that's sort of where I realized that a solutions architect had a really good balance between, as Laura mentioned, software engineering and building cool projects, but then also being able to meet the customers and have that business side so that you're a bit more well-rounded and not just, doing gyro tickets and just committing to a code lab, which I personally found a bit boring after a few weeks. But yeah, so the solutions architect intern experience was genuinely it was like a really fun 12 weeks, and it's really packed. So I've just made like a little list of what I've done. But so during the 12 weeks, you have to work on a final project. So I created this voice speaking app, which basically can run chemical molecular dynamic simulations. Trust me, I did not know what like chemical molecular dynamic simulations was before I started. And I didn't actually even know what like AWS was, or like how to use it. So you really do actually get to learn a lot while you're on the internship. And I think in the first 4 weeks, you're kind of like, oh, I'm really scared. I don't really know anything. And then you kind of you're like, oh, okay, stuff starts to make sense. And then you're able to make a really cool project, like being able to do a voice first research where you can do chemical molecular dynamic simulations. So on top of that, I also got to speak to the Research Society of Software Engineers in the UK, and they're like a bunch of like the smartest software engineers in the UK, I think. And I got to like give them a talk about my thing, which I don't know, I personally found that really cool. So it's like a really cool public speaking opportunity. There's more public speaking opportunities, such as this thing called Toastmasters, where you get to really practice your skills. We took part in like team hackathons with the rest of the team. Then we had intern hackathons. There was just every week, there was like different learnings about databases or compute, or you can do stuff like, I saw someone wanted to work at Palantir, and there's this, so Palantir works with AWS. So you can literally go find a person that works with Palantir and ask them about Palantir stuff. And you can do that with any company. And I find that so cool. And you'll just find out like AWS, there's a ton of people who are just so smart, and you can literally pick their brains about anything that you guys like. So, you know, in that second slider where you guys said you guys are interested in specific skills, you can ask the top person in the field about that. So I've personally found that really cool. And also as like an intern, I completely understand you might feel a bit scared to ask people, like especially like seniors, you're like, oh, I don't want to waste their time or anything. But like at AWS, the culture is really great where you can just Slack them and they'll, you know, they might take a day to respond, but they will respond, and they'll give you really valuable insight. So I think that's really cool. And also learning the Solutions Architect Associate certification. That was really cool, because that sort of took you from not knowing anything about cloud and then within 12 weeks to be able to pass this exam, which I think it takes you quite into depth about AWS. So just another really great opportunity to like learn more, and also, you know, add something to your CV. It really helps. And I definitely say if you guys are looking to apply for you know, this internship or even any internship, just to give you like free tips is, one, I definitely suggest you doing the cloud practitioner exam, which is an AWS exam. It's relatively pretty easy. I think it might take you about 10 weeks of learning, like 2 hours a week of learning, but then being able to like understand it. And that'll be really good for your CV. Another thing is when you're writing your CV, just make sure you add data points to whatever you do. So don't just say what you've done, say what you've done, and then as a result of what you've done, quantify what the result of it with numbers. So an example of that could be like, I created a database and I improved the efficiency of it by using a inner join, and that sped up the operation speed by 25%. Like that bit is super key to just add that data point. And I definitely recommend adding that. And my third tip for applying for any internship, but maybe specifically this for the solutions architect internship, is to learn about Amazon leadership principles. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the Amazon leadership principles. There's like customer obsession, frugality, ownership. And I find that like loads of companies say they have these brand values and brand guidelines, but they don't really embody it. Whereas genuinely in my internship, I literally heard one of the Amazon leadership every single day. And in most big meetings, I would hear at least Amazon leadership principle twice. And it's tested in your interview. So really make sure you have like an example for each leadership principle so that you can dish out in your interview. And then, as Laura mentioned, so, you know, apart from all those projects I worked on, the public speaking, the hackathons, I also have part of my job was to do a bit of evangelism. And so what I did is created a YouTube channel where I can document my intern experience. And I've never done YouTube personally before. Like, it's such a strange thing to do. But, you know, got the opportunity. My manager and Laura really supported me and said, no, just go do it. Just, you know, get a camera, film some stuff and see what happens. And I was able to make a mini series from it. And in December, when I start back as a full-time employee, I'm going to try and do like every single week 1 at Amazon, week 2 at Amazon. So if any of you guys want to learn more about the solutions architect role, check my channel out there. You know, cheeky little plug. But yeah, I just wanted to leave some time for some questions. So maybe we can look in the chat or on the Sildo for questions for the solution architect, and you can ask me or Laura. Probably got to give this a shout out as well. If this solutions architect internship is something you're looking to apply for, then you should definitely come to our AWS Virtual Intern Day, where it's going to be a whole day, and we're going to dive a lot deeper into what it actually means to be an SA, and also do CV clinics, CV help, do like demos about what we do in a day. What else is there, Laura? Sorry if I'm missing anything.
Yeah, so so sadly it's also in person as well, but I'm afraid all the places have gone. It just absolutely flew out. But the virtual one is still available. Places, yeah, as Martini said, it's a whole day, well, sort of 3/4 of a day of learning, hearing from different SAs about what they do, and it's across public sector, commercial, and finance as well. So we've got managers, hiring managers, from there as well, essays, demos, CV clinics. Basically, if you're looking for an internship, come along to this day, because this will give you really the best understanding of what we do, how to apply, how to pass the interview. If you're really serious about applying, I would really recommend it. It's on the 23rd of November, so come along to that. But yeah, as Martini said, I can post this link in the chat. I realized that my camera stopped working when I shared my screen, but I'll post that in the chat. But I think now we've got some time, so I just wanted to basically do Q&A and answer any of your questions, make it as interactive as possible.
So there's one question already, which is, do people outside from the UK apply for internships in the UK?
So Amazon and AWS operates in like, I don't know how many countries, probably every them, and they all do, or a lot of them do internships. So for example, me personally, I also interview for intern positions in South Africa and Germany and other European countries. If you're from outside the UK and you want a UK internship, you can apply, but so long as you have the correct like visa sort of, I don't know what it is. I've personally never worked abroad, but basically visa and right to work in the UK. Yeah, we had, I actually mentored another intern who wasn't in my team, but he was from, I think he was from Pakistan, and he did his internship in the UK. So as long as you've got the right to work, you can apply.
Yeah, and then someone's asked, do Amazon offer business-related / non-tech internships?
Yes. So specifically, so the way that solutions architects work is that we work hand in hand with account managers. So and account managers, there are internships in that. So we had, so for example, in my team, the education team, the way it works is obviously I'm part of the solutions architect team, but then we have a counterpart, which is called the account management team. And we're all one, we look after education. So for each customer, I'm the solutions architect. So for example, I look after Oxford University as one of my customers. I have an account manager who looks after Oxford University as well, and we work together for our customer. And so if you wanted to do account management, which is like sales and business, they do internships for that as well. There are other jobs as well. Business development is a job, but I know account management is probably the most popular and has a proper internship scheme.
Will they sponsor US visas?
I don't know. Sorry, I actually don't know about that. I'll be honest, I would say at an internship level, probably not, if I'm being honest, but I can find out. If you have a specific question, I'll put, I've got my details. Let me share my screen again. Sorry, I mean, you'll lose my picture, but I'm sure you can live without my face for a while. But basically, if I go across, here's my details. Sorry, Martine, I didn't put yours because I wasn't sure if you wanted your personal email address on there. Drop me a message on any of these forums, and I can find out if that is something, but I would presume not at internship level, but I can find out if you are interested.
So there's a question then next is, what technology should a potential intern know before joining the program? Where, backend, front-end, JavaScript?
Do you want to answer that, Martini, seeing as you joined as an intern?
Sure. Yeah, of course. So I had experience in Python, Java, and literally like the smallest amount of I'd say experience in like a web framework. So for example, Spring Boot and Django. I knew about it, but I wouldn't say I had that much experience in it. I think the main thing for the interviews is they'll ask you sort of more general questions about like technology. So Maybe Laura, you can answer, you could maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but like the questions I got asked was, for example, like what is a free tier application, or you know, something about, God, I'm even trying to think now. Laura, sorry, do you want to?
Yeah, that's fine. So basically the way that the interview process works is you'll do obviously you apply an application, a recruiter usually gets in touch, there's sort of the CV thing. And then if your CV is selected for an interview through the kind of like SIFT, you'll do a phone screen, which is mostly a technical phone screen, but there's also some kind of leadership principle questions. It's very, very important, leadership principles. It is literally everything, as Martini said, but it's a very wide ranging. You don't have to come with any AWS experience. You'll obviously learn it during your internship. So we kind of ask a range of different questions across different technology stacks, and it's more to to make sure you do have a technology sort of understanding. Being honest, I've interviewed people where people have lied on their CV and so they've understood stuff and they really don't. So it's also to kind of that. But it's kind of to see where your knowledge lies, you know, if you're a good fit for our team. Because also when I was interviewing, for example, I actually interviewed someone who I thought she was a great fit for AWS, but not for our team, just based on her skill set and what my customers are currently asking for. So I basically put her in a different team, just because of her skill set. So the questions are kind of like a wide ranging in order to see like what you know. So it can literally, as you said, like describe what a 3-tier web architecture is always kind of nice, just kind of to see where your depth goes, because you could answer a really shallow question, but if you're really passionate about maybe the back end or the front end, you could really go into the detail. So it's really wide ranging. Yeah, in terms of like specific technologies, again, at internship level, it's not specific in terms of languages, because the way that the solutions architect role is that we don't build anything in production for customers. So actually, in terms of the programming languages, it's actually really flexible, because, for example, I like Python, but if you like Java or Node or C or whatever it is you want, basically you would build POCs and demos and sort of test applications for customers, but then it's up to them to take it into production. So we don't hand over code to the customer. So it actually doesn't really matter that much about what your preferred languages are, because you'll be building it to show them, not to give them the code.
Yeah. All right, moving on. There's one, I think, time for maybe these last two ones, but or three maybe quickly. Is having a non-tech consultancy background useful? If yes, what function would it be useful for? If having a non-tech consultancy.
Yeah, so again, at kind of internship level, that's fine. Obviously, having no technical background at all, I would say is not going to really fit with the solutions architect internship, just because it is a technical job and you will need to be able to build, you know, solutions for customers, and obviously it's technical. But if you like technology but maybe not had experience in hands-on, and you're more of like a business background but want to work at AWS, like I said, you could go into like an account management role, business development role. There's loads of non-technical roles in a technical company, but if you want specifically the solutions architect job, you will need a technical grounding.
Yeah, and then as a follow-up question to the previous one, which is about the different technologies, is are the interns expected to build a full stack application in the internship?
What did you build? Do you want to talk about that?
Well, as you know, as I said, so I built, my one wasn't like a full stack web application. It was a using Alexa to then run a Docker container. So the project that you'll work on will really depend on what your manager sets for you, and it can be anything. So the other intern on the same program as me, she worked on a IoT device to measure the height of grass, and she had to build like an actual Raspberry Pi sensor for that. So it really depends on what project you're working on.
The way that I, for example, work when I'm managing interns, and like I said, I'm kind of joining this up next year, is that it's also based on what you want to know. Because for me, an internship, it is about your future career and where you want to go and your learning. And so there's no point in me setting you projects that you have no interest in. Obviously, there's going to be stuff that customers are doing that, you know, we all work on stuff that maybe is not 100% what we're thrilled about so we can get up in the morning. But in terms of like your final project, I set projects that align to your skill set. And before Martini and Natalia joined, I had it was like monthly calls, and I asked you and sent over emails like what technology you're interested in. And so Natalia was like, I'm interested in IoT, and so I was like, great, let's set an IoT project for you, because she hadn't really worked on it before, but she was interested. So really, let's build your skill set, because then even if, and actually both Martini and Natalia are coming back, but even if you don't come back to AWS, like after your internship as a graduate, I want you to have learned skills that you take to your next job. That's equally as important for me. So I want you to work on things that like will help you in your career. Like at the end of the day, it's a two-way thing. You're helping me by working with my customers, but I also want to help you by building up your skill set for your career.
Yeah, and can I add on that? Since having done the internship, I've had literally 20 plus recruiters message me a week to go for their job. So
Still
it really does help. I'm coming back to it, honest. Is there time for one more question, Alex?
If it's a quick answer, yeah, go on.
Does already having a solution architect certification decrease a student's chances of getting into the program?
Decrease? No, it only increase. Why would it decrease?
It's even better because it shows you're passionate, learn and be curious.
You don't have to have any of the certifications prior to coming in, but if you do, that's definitely going to help, because when I review your CVs, if I see that you've done it, I'm like, great, you've already got some skills, let's have a chat.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Like I said, I'll put my details in the chat, because I know we've got other people to speak, but if you want to drop me any messages, I'm more than happy to have a chat.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll share the slides afterwards if you're okay with you, and yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Martin and Laura. It was lovely. Okay, they disappeared. Okay, cool. So I'm going to share my screen again. They're still here. Okay, thank you. Okay. So next up, we're going to have David. As I told you, he done an internship with Salesforce, and he's going to present his journey there and what he actually learned.
Cool. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Just to confirm as well, it was solution engineering internship, not software engineering. So slightly different. But yeah, hi guys. Like Alex said, I'm David, part of the DSC team, and I also go to Warwick. I'm a second-year computer science student, and I'll just talk a bit about my internship at Salesforce as a solution engineering intern. So just to clarify, solution engineering is basically a mix of pre-sales and technology. So what normally happens is a range of different companies, really big companies, really small companies will come to Salesforce, and Salesforce basically have a suite of different technologies and products that they offer. So say, for example, your company's trying to grow and you need some help from Salesforce, you'd go to them and say, I'd need this technology or that technology in order to plan some certain things. And then where solution engineers come into that is they're kind of like a touch point between the company and Salesforce, and they help companies realize how exactly those solutions are meant to be used in their business. And depending on the specific type of solution engineering you do, it can be kind of technical or it can be more businessy. So to start with, I'll just talk about my application process. So I actually applied kind of, I wouldn't say late in the application cycle, but it wasn't early. So I initially applied on the 15th of March, and I applied with a referral from a mentor that I knew at Salesforce. So he referred me for the specific role. But obviously you can still apply. You don't have to have a referral to apply. Like if you apply and you've got the necessary skills, then you'll still make it quite far in the application process. And then initially got contacted by my recruiter on the 23rd, had my first interview on the 29th, second on the 7th, and then got an offer on the 12th. So the whole application process was roughly a month, which is fairly quick in terms of like general scheme of things in other companies, which is definitely one thing I liked. And it meant that also because I applied kind of late, I had the chance to prep for different things. Before you do your interviews, they send you some information about Salesforce and other things that you can do to prep, which is really useful. You can ask your recruiter any questions you have, stuff like that. So that was my application process. They have roles. I don't know if they have internships currently open right now, but if you go on the Salesforce website or just Google Salesforce careers or Salesforce jobs, you'll be able to see all the roles that they have open. And if a specific thing you want to apply for isn't open now, just kind of keep checking every now and then to keep up to date. So in terms of what I did, my internship was 9 weeks, and there were actually, I can't remember the exact number, but in terms of globally, there was definitely like a couple hundred interns, so quite big intern cohort. And especially from Europe, you kind of either did 9 weeks or 12 weeks at Salesforce. So during my internship, I worked with senior technical architects, which are people that have been in the industry for a long time. They've got a lot of kind of knowledge. They've got a lot of experience and background. So it's great to be able to like talk to them, ask them any questions I had. I actually worked with a global luxury car manufacturer to build a proof of concept for them, which was pretty cool, being able to work with a very big company and design something that's going to be used later on. In terms of my intern class, so there were 7 solution engineering interns that year, and we were kind of split into smaller teams, and based on your previous background, they assigned you projects. So I worked on my project with another intern, and because we were quite technical and we'd done some coding in the past, that's why my specific project had to do with building something, building a proof of concept for that company. But I also have other solution engineering interns that kind of worked more with companies, so kind of helping them do the different stages of when a company comes to Salesforce and gets advice. And then some of the other solution engineering interns also worked with internal Salesforce teams. So kind of based on your experience, that dictates what you end up working on. And I know people that were interning with me that got return offers to work there full time and kind of go through the solution engineering graduate process, which is pretty cool. I learned to use a lot of Salesforce architecture. So at Salesforce, you kind of have different clouds based on, kind of the specific Salesforce technology that's being used. And I learned a range of different technologies like React, which is a front-end framework, Heroku Connect, working with APIs, PostgreSQL, Express Node, and a couple of different things. And I know people that did software engineering internships at Salesforce that kind of got to work with some of the more technical parts of the Salesforce architecture, so adding different components, updating certain clouds and certain systems. And then I know Tableau also have so the way Salesforce works is that Salesforce also have some smaller companies. So I know people that intern at Tableau, but we're also kind of working with Salesforce. So there's a big range in terms of what you can do. So I definitely say consider it. And as a company, Salesforce is really good. It's really progressive. I know it's been named I think best UK employer a couple of times as well. Everyone's always open and friendly. You can literally Slack anyone from any country in the world, ask to set up a coffee chat, and people are always happy to give you advice. And my managers were really good as well. I was able to ask them any questions I had. If there was anything I was stuck on, I was able to have weekly chats with them, and they'd send me link to either different documentation I could have a look at, or kind of hop on a call and actually reason it out with me as well, which is something that I really liked about the internship. And I definitely learned a lot in terms of technology, but also kind of the business side of things. So it's a great split. In terms of my advice, I'd probably say the main 2 things are just be proactive and be prepared. So at the start of the application cycle, I made a list of places I wanted to apply to. I made sure to track everything, because it's very easy to apply to a lot of places and then you kind of forget what you need to do for this, or if you need to do an interview for this company or complete something else for that company. And if you want to apply to a company, do your research on them beforehand. It's I kind of made sure that I was lucky because I had a mentor that worked at Salesforce, so I was able to talk to them, get insight from them on things they did in their actual role. But you don't need to have a mentor. Google is a free mentor. You can literally Google what Salesforce solution engineers work on, and you'd have different examples. I'm sure there's YouTube videos. Salesforce have a lot of social media content as well. So there's so many ways to learn about Salesforce, and a lot of people don't actually know what Salesforce do. So if you're asked like in an interview, you definitely don't want to give the wrong answer because it will show that you're not prepared. So yeah, those are my two biggest tips. And then if anyone's got any other questions about my internship, questions about Salesforce, then yeah, feel free to ask.
There's actually a question if they're open. I think you've mentioned that you don't know for sure, but they might open a bit later in the year, right?
Yeah, so I had a look on their applications page, and I don't know if they're open yet, but yeah, like I said before, just literally go on Google and search Salesforce careers, and yeah, you'll have their applications page there, where you'll be able to see like all the postings they currently have, and yeah, just check that every now and then to see if there's anything updates. Do international candidates apply for Salesforce? By international candidates, you mean like people that aren't UK based? But yeah, if you mean that outside from the UK, so Salesforce have different, like in terms of my internship, I talked to people that were interning from the Netherlands, people that were interning from like France, people that were interning from Germany. So Salesforce literally have interns from like every country. So if you don't live in the UK, then you could try and apply to a Salesforce internship at that specific country. Say, for example, you lived in France or Germany, you can try and apply to Salesforce internships in France or Germany, which would probably be a bit easier because it kind of, then you don't have issues like with immigration and stuff like that. But I think if you go to like UK universities, then yeah, you can definitely apply to Salesforce internships in the UK. Do you need to grind leak code? If you're applying to a solution engineering internship, not really, because during my interviews, I was mainly asked questions to do with like solution engineering and kind of skills and characteristics that a solution engineer would need to have. So it was a lot more kind of like high level technical stuff and less of, maybe algorithm questions. But if you're applying to, say, for example, a software engineering internship at Salesforce, then yeah, it probably might be a bit useful to have that knowledge in that specific area. How do you find out more about solution engineering? I'll just put my LinkedIn in the chat. So if you guys want to like ask me questions about like what I did or solution engineers in general, then feel free. But yeah, you can literally just Google. Obviously, like different companies have different types of solution engineering. So even though like you might have a solution engineer working at Salesforce and one at Amazon or Google, they might be doing slightly different things. But yeah, if you guys just reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to talk a bit more about that, or you can just, Google.
David, there's one more question on Slido. How did you get a mentor?
So I was part of this thing called Generating Genius, which is like a organization that helps like certain communities with like career stuff. And they had like a mentorship thing you could apply for. But yeah, I'd probably say getting a mentor is quite hard. One thing you could do is if you have LinkedIn, you could just search for people that work at Salesforce or search for people that work at, the companies you want to work at and try and like connect with them and send them a personalized message like, hi, I'm David, I'm a second year computer science student at Warwick. I see you work at, X company doing Y. It would be great if we could connect and I could get any advice or tips from you. And yeah, just try and like reach out to people. Like I said, be proactive. People aren't going to come to you. You have to reach out to others. So
yeah, and definitely those kind of events, like how we are doing that right now, it helps you connect with the people that are actually working there or that are still currently working. So like you can talk with Martin and Laura about Amazon. You can talk with David about Salesforce. You can talk with Viana and Maya about Google. So those kinds of events actually help you grow your network and then help you understand more about certain companies. I know nobody's going to help you get in a company because obviously it's not up to them. It's up to the recruitment team and the processes that are running inside. But they can give you more insights about certain things. So um, you need to put some effort to that. Nobody's going to hire you just because you are leaving. So I'm sorry to say that that's the reality that we are living right now. So yeah, it's definitely worth and it's definitely good that you are here right now and you can learn more about these companies. Yeah. Oh, I think there's another question on slide. I don't know if it was meant for you, David, or Laura and Martini, but it's about where do you live when you are doing the internship? Do you find you're living yourself?
Did you say live?
Yeah, live, like probably.
Oh.
Sorry, who was the question for? Sorry, I missed that.
I don't know for sure, but it says, where do you live when you're doing the internship? Do you found you're living yourself? Probably it's for both of it because it was somewhere between them. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, I can talk for AWS and then David, you can talk for yours. So the internships are based in London. So you'll live, I suppose, wherever. So for example, I did an internship when I was a student, and so I rented I was gonna say rented a flat. Obviously, I had flatmates, I couldn't. But yeah, basically, so it's London based. However, I will say even pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, because I know things changed. The solutions architect job has always been so in my contract, I've always been virtual. So as in you work from home, as in my office is my house, and then I can go into the office whenever I want. I choose the London office. We have a Manchester office as well, just because London's closer to where I live. And then obviously we travel around to customers. Obviously, pre-pandemic, it's a bit more getting back to going to customers on site now. But it's kind of very much like almost like a little bit on the road, but you don't have to be in the office. Like Martini, you'll say like he just came into the office whenever we wanted to chat or when he fancied getting out of the house. It wasn't like be at your desk by 9 o'clock in an office. It's not like that, and it never was, and it never will be again. But yeah, so in terms of the office, I would say it's like London. We do have Manchester, but just in terms of my team, for example, most of us are based around London, but there are some in the north. But also just an SA in general, just to kind of make you aware, post internship, we are literally spread out across the entire country. So actually, you don't need to be London based. You can literally live anywhere in the country that you like.
Yeah, I think probably the only thing is that you need to live in UK because of the regulations and stuff, right?
In UK, I mean, there are, I will say, not for me specifically, but we have internships for SAs across EMEA, and there are the US as well. I can't really comment for the US because I don't, but across EMEA and also like Africa and kind of, so if you do want a internship outside the UK, we do offer them. I just won't really be able to help with that just because it's not really the area that I cover.
Okay, thank you, Laura. What about you, David?
So because of COVID, my internship was remote. But if it was in person, I would have been working from the London office. So one thing that Salesforce did is they gave you like a little signing on bonus as well, which you could probably use to help with things like finding accommodation. And if you live in London, then obviously it's easy because you can kind of just travel down. But if you don't, then yeah, I'd probably say kind of talk with your recruiter about that and ask them for the advice, but also the sign-on bonus would be like helpful to kind of find a place to stay for the period of your internship.
Okay, thanks. Do you have anything more to add, David? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's it. I dropped my LinkedIn in the chat, so if you guys have any more questions, just.
Thank you so much. Just for your information, we're running a bit late, so please stick around for a bit more. Sorry, Vivian and Maya. I'm not going to share my screen again because they're already here. We are wasting time. Maya did a business internship at Google 2 years ago, I think. Hopefully, I don't mess this up. And Viviana did actually 2 internships at Google 2 years and 3 years ago. Hopefully, they're going to tell us a bit more, and they're going to present how things are going for Google and how you should prepare and stuff like that. So thanks for coming, and yeah, we're listening.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. I hope you can hear me. Okay, and you see the presentation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, welcome to this last part, internships at Google. Just a disclaimer, because we always have to do that. We are not Google officials. We only voice our opinions and not the company's. So yeah. So Maya, do you want to start introducing yourself maybe?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. It's like pleasure to be here with you. So I'm a former business intern for Global Customer Solutions team at Google. I had an internship a year ago, so it was in 2020. And basically, currently, I received a bachelor's degree in software engineering. But I took a business internship since last 3 years. I'm working as a project manager, also like a head of project management office. So I decided to try this direction at Google, and it was definitely worth it.
Hey, and I'm Viviana. I'm currently in my third software engineering internship at Google. I've done one every year in the last 2 years as well. I study computer science in Munich and also medicine in Munich. So yeah, but I'm currently in Zurich for the internship. So essentially, I will talk about tech internships at Google, and then Maya will follow up with her business internship. So yeah. First of all, tech internships. Maybe I wanted to start by giving you an overview what a tech internship might look like, just because, yeah, to know what you're expecting. So essentially, a tech internship is typically 12 or 13 weeks long. Itself is quite flexible, but the peak time is definitely the summer. So most of the interns come during the summer, and I would also recommend doing that if you can, because that's when everyone is here and all the fun stuff is happening. So yeah, it feels more like a summer camp than work actually. And then the structure, essentially you need some weeks to be onboarded. That means to get used to all the Google tools and your project and the team. And then you have like 1.5 or 2 months of actual work on your project. So you will be assigned a project and you will do that for the duration of your internship. And in the end, you will have some time to write documentation, wrap up everything, and also do a final presentation where you present to managers and to your team what you've accomplished, which is usually also quite satisfying. So what kind of internships can you do? So tech internship is a very broad family of internships. I can mostly speak about the ones I did, which is software engineering internships, but I thought maybe it makes sense to also show you the other kinds of internships that exist. So if you do something related to computer science, or if you're interested to do like coding, you have 3 types of internships you can do. So if you're in the beginning of your study program, you can do a step internship. That's usually 12 weeks long and a little bit different from the structure. So for example, you get 2 hosts, so 2 people that work full-time that will manage you. You will probably work in a pair with some other step intern and so on. But yeah, as I said, I didn't do it ever, so I don't know the specifics. If you are a little bit more advanced, so like say second year of bachelor's up until the end of your master's, you can do a software engineering SWE or site reliability engineering SRE internship. The two are quite similar as in regards to an internship because you are building some software. The software engineering one is usually software that's more facing towards like clients, whereas the site reliability is more like building tools that helps Google to keep their sites running. But as I would say, for an internship, doesn't really make a huge difference. Yeah, I will tell you more about that, but other things you can do if you're in a master's or PhD, or very, very seldom in the bachelor's as well, you can do a research internship. In that case, you won't necessarily build a project, but instead you will be writing like a paper and conducting research with other research scientists here. So if you're interested in that, yeah, you can do that. Other than that, you can also do very design stuff, so UX and UI. So a friend of mine, for example, did UX research, where she really also conducted research, interviewed like clients and everything. If you're more interested in hardware, you can do hardware and IT internships. I think they're more based in the US than they are in Europe, but yeah, just look it up. And you can also do product management internships, which are really awesome because you get to know like a lot of different teams and get your hands dirty really with product management. So yeah, there's just a lot you can try out. Just go to the jobs page and see if you can find your perfect fit, essentially. So first of all, of course, everyone has heard about like Google offices, and I was surprised the first time I came here. It was like really the reality actually. Like they have massage chairs, nap rooms where you can just go nap during the day and no one will care. They have music rooms and games, everything that you can imagine. It's basically like an amusement park kind of. But people surprisingly also get work done sometimes. Yeah, so with all the interns, you basically just live the dream in the office kind of. So you have like free food, you have coffee baristas that will serve you the coffee for free, whatever you want. Back then there were still e-bikes and scooters here in Zurich, but I think they're not here anymore. You get massages and you get gym and fitness classes, so it really feels like an amusement park sometimes. Some things I wanted to point out is, I mean, of course, you have to work as well. And something I found really interesting about working at Google is that it's very, like all the tools that they have, they build themselves. So they don't use Git, they use their own Git, basically. So everything, you have to learn everything from scratch again, kind of. So yeah, I just found that pretty interesting. Other than all this awesome office stuff, what happens here also is a lot of social stuff. So during the summer, there's usually an intern summit if it's not COVID, where all the interns in the whole of Europe will be flown into Zurich. And then there's like 3 days, I think, of program where there's, for example, a party boat that they rented just for us interns. We call it the internship. And also, if you're lucky, your team will go to their team offsite while you are an intern. So essentially, a friend of mine, for example, went for a week vacation with their team to Barcelona, and the security interns went to the USA for 2 weeks. So there's really a lot to do with the teams. Yeah, so really fun stuff. Now about how do you become an intern, which is probably why you are here. First of all, you have to apply on the careers page. I think now it has changed a little bit to have to apply with the CV. The cover letter is optional, and as far as I heard, most people don't read it anyways, so don't waste too much energy on that. And also you have to upload your transcript of records. Then if you get to the next stage, you will get 2 technical interviews. At least that was the case back when I was interviewing. Maybe I think there's like an additional coding stage at some point. Yeah, but anyways, you have 2 technical interviews. Usually they're 45 minutes long, back to back. So that's just like 2 hours of coding essentially. And each of these interviews, you typically have like a warm-up question and then like a cool-down question, kind of. So you have like 2 questions and you're expected to, yeah, just walk them through what you think, provide the runtime and trade-offs. You should know the basics of algorithms and data structures, but I would definitely say they're very doable if you like practice a little bit and revise these things a little bit. Yeah, so once you pass these, you will get an internship questionnaire. Essentially, it's a Google form. You can say where you would be open to work, which kind of projects and teams you would be willing to work in. And for people who are applying for the first time, I would suggest to be open about the teams, because I was surprised what kind of projects some teams did that I never expected them to do. Like, for example, if you're interested in ML, almost every team in Google does something with ML. So I wouldn't restrict it too much, because the next step is the host matching. So essentially your whole profile with the internship questionnaire answers and everything will go into a candidate pool, and then intern hosts can essentially select their interns and reach out to you. You will get an interview with them. And if both sides say, yes, this is a good match, then you are in. Otherwise, you can also decline if the project is not very interesting and wait for the next interview. So yeah, that's the very basic path to become an intern. So yeah, then you do your project and blah, blah, blah. And after the internship, you will get evaluated. And this will happen with your host and your co-host. So you will have 2 full-timers that will evaluate you. And this is important for these 2 things. So essentially after the internship, you can choose between 2 options. You can, I mean 3, you can say you're done, you don't want to go to Google anymore. Or you can say, I want a returning internship, meaning that you will be considered for the next year's internship without any additional thing you have to do. Sometimes they might ask for an additional interview if the feedback wasn't conclusive enough, but in the most cases, it's just a formality. Or you can say, I want to become a full-time Googler. For that, you might have to do conversion interviews, but for example, if you have done already like 2 internships, then you can just get the offer without any additional work. So if you plan to go to Google at some point full-time, I would really recommend going over internships, because I feel like that's the most awesome way, because it's fun. You get to know the company before you have to commit, and the company gets to know you for 3 months instead of just like the 1-hour interviews that you have to do otherwise. So yeah, my recommendation is just try it. And yeah, that was it from my side. Thanks for listening. I'm here after Maya's part to answer any questions.
Can give you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. No.
Yeah, so I have also presentation, so let me share my screen right now. So can you see it right now?
Yep. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, and you see the presentation itself.
Yeah, the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So yeah, hey everyone again. So I'm here to share my experience with the business internship. So basically, let's start with a quick overview of that internship, so that you can understand what is basically the difference between business and software engineering internship, and what was basically the goals, and what are you going to do basically during such an internship. So first of all, you'll be a member of the Global Customer Solutions Sales team. In my case, that was agency team, who maintains a focus on a customer success by bringing the best Google has to offer. So mostly I was working with Google Ads and different clients within the particular region in order to establish the right strategy and business objectives with Google's product in order to achieve like business goals. So we work towards strategic business goals while prioritization and delivering like customer experience and grow the customer's business. So basically I was communicating with a lot of customers of Google, and conduct like online consultations with customers to advise them how to get the best return on the Google Ads investments, for instance. Mostly I was working with the apps and apps campaigns. Also, I implemented like some creative ways to improve the customer relationships, tailor and share like online marketing and sales strategies suggestions, and promote like other Google products. So basically that was like internship, which is focused on business relationships and business goals within different products which are collaborating with Google. So in terms of timeline, it took me around 14 weeks of the whole business internship. So the very first time it was onboarding, I was waiting for my laptop and all of stuff to start working at Google. Also, I started like searching and studying a lot of courses related to sales, marketing, business, and all of that stuff. So it was quite interesting and new for me. And here is like a strange word, Hibernia, that is basically internal sales certification at Google, which you should pass in order to start working with the clients directly. That is basically a simulation of the call with your customer, and your team and like manager are reviewing your performance and the way you are communicating to the client during the call. And they have like points and they are collecting the feedback, and then just say to you whether you pass it or not. Also, while this process, there were lots of internal and external projects. So I was joining like few of the teams to work, for instance, on YouTube campaigns or with the app campaigns. So I was working with a quite famous brands, and that was like really very exciting, and you're working from another side as not usual. So it was a little bit challenging at the very first stages, but then it was really very interesting, and like really I received lots of new knowledge in terms of sales and communication with the clients. Also, I have lots of client speeches. So for instance, I should like pitch some new product or pitch business strategy of my client and help them to make it with Google in the most efficient way. So there were like few client pitches where I was like the main contact person from the Google side. So I was a little bit nervous, but in general, it was really very fun. And definitely closing, and within like all of that period of time I had lots of communication with other interns, and it was really funny. And even though it was remote, since 2020 was the year where this COVID and everything started, so it was remote. But Google organized lots of different activities so that you are staying connected with other interns. You can join other projects outside of Global Customer Solutions team. So it was quite insightful. So how basically you can start your business internship. So few things and notes in terms of the process. So first of all, I would strongly recommend to talk to Googlers and ex-interns. So basically you're here, so I guess that is the very first stage in terms of receiving your Google offer, since like Googlers, ex-interns can share you lots of insights in terms of that process. And in my case, I talked to my friend who is working at Google in that team, and she shared lots of insights for me, which basically was very useful then during the process of the interviews. Then actually you started your application process, and as we previously mentioned, you just go to careers.google.com website, and you can just search business internships opportunities in a particular country, in EMEA, for instance. And here is just requirements for this particular internships. So you should just be a student in a bachelor's and master's degrees, and there is just few preferred qualifications, like you should probably have some experience in sales, advertising, consulting, analysis. That can be management, and also like you should be available for the internship itself. So you see it's quite minimum. And for the application, you need to prepare your CV. Basically, we didn't have lots of time today to sell like some notes how to prepare that CV in the right manner, but still it should be quite informative. Then university transcripts, that is basically just a confirmation that you're a student. So just no worries in terms of actual information inside of that. So like they are just checking that you're a university student. That is like a document that confirms that. Also, like some of the information about job experience, basic info meaning like your name, date of birth, etc. There is a cover letter, and as we mentioned that nobody reads that, so just not waste your time on that. And referral, so basically it's quite great if you have any friends or colleagues or any others who are Googlers who work at Google, and they can recommend you for a particular internship vacancy, and that's quite good. It won't guarantee you an offer for sure, but it will have probably a little bit more probability that your application will be reviewed by a recruiter, and probably you will receive a feedback a little bit more faster. So I highly recommend to find someone who can make you a referral. Basically, you can just search in LinkedIn and ask some Googlers. I have some friends who were just searching in LinkedIn and asking random people, and they had a small call with that person, and then that person referred my friend. So that is not a problem. In terms of interview process for business internships, it looks like that. You will have a very first phone interview with the recruiter, basically related to your previous experience, why sales, why marketing, what is your major of studies, why you decided to choose that, what are your goals, long-term goals, etc. So basically all of those questions can be easily Googled, and I guess 80% of questions which I was asked was within the list of those hundreds of questions which I just Googled. So again, like within the whole interview process, I believe the most effective piece of advice which I can give to you is be prepared all the time and just Google. Just Google all of the information before any of the interview, because I guess 80% of the success is basically a good preparation. Then there are 2 hangers interviews with the peer and manager. They are role related. They are taking some role related knowledge, your cognitive ability, and also Googliness. So basically I had those 2 hangers interviews, and before that I received an email from the recruitment team with a lot of information about how to go through the interview, what to prepare, what to learn, what to read additionally. And to be honest, after I received an offer, I understood that this information was absolutely enough to basically receive an offer. Without searching and Googling any other information, you can receive that offer with just reading and preparation, like time of based on the email which you will receive from your recruitment team. So basically those 2 interviews will be concentrating to check your existing knowledge and previous experience with the sales, marketing, some of the projects, management experience as well. And also they are checking your ability just to think and consider, and they are asking you like behavioral questions. So for instance, when was the last time you failed or something like that? So you should think about some of the previous experience and try to share it in the most effective way. I strongly recommend you a STAR technique. So it calls like STAR, and it's like situation, task, action, result. That is the very effective way how to build a strong answer, answering such a behavioral questions as I mentioned earlier. And my manager also asked some questions like, for instance, where Google should invest in the next year or something like that. So I should think and share some of the ideas. And basically Google sent to me beforehand the instruction, how should I answer such a question? So there is basically a technique. So I was just following that. So again, just read the preparation materials which Google will send to you, and it will be absolutely enough to pass and to go to the next stage, to be honest. Then there is like a stage hiring committee. So you're just waiting, all of your feedback is already collected and it's going through the senior team and also executive team. And then once you receive a confirmation, you'll receive an offer. So this interview process can take like starting from the 1 month, as it was in my case. So a month from the time I received that I can go to the phone interview to the time when I actually received that offer. But it can also be a little bit longer. It depends. So yeah, just be ready for such activities. And yeah, and basically what was also interesting, I received lots of swag from Google, even though it was remotely. So as you can see, and even though it was remotely, it was really very fun, and I really enjoyed that. And what's next? So basically, I received an offer from Google team to join the team as a full-time employee. But then I decided that on this very stage, I'm not sure whether I can I would like to move to another country. That was a requirement of that offer. So I decided to postpone my answer a little bit for the later times. But that is a big benefit of the business internships, because you can receive your offer after the very first internship, comparing to software engineering internships, where you usually should have like at least 2 of them to receive a full-time job. Yeah, so basically that is just in a nutshell in terms of business internship and how to go through the application process. But I would be very grateful if really happy to answer any questions, and you can reach me out directly in a Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whenever it sounds efficient for you. And I'm happy to share any other thoughts on that.
Thanks a lot, Maya. Could you stay for a bit longer, Maya and Viv? Can you stay a bit longer for the questions? Okay, that's cool. I would actually have a question for you too, because probably you thought that we wouldn't have time to go through that. Can you tell us a bit more what you actually did during the internships? Like what projects, if you're allowed to, obviously.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I did 3 internships. The first, well, I can't say like the specifics, but the first 2 were more like front end. So the second, for example, was in Google Lens, which obviously is quite front end. And what I'm doing now is very back-endy, so it has a lot to do with microservices and how they manage it internally. But what I can say generally is that the projects that you do are like real use cases. It's not like they will put you on some confined sandbox thing, unless you're doing research maybe. But the things that you implement are actually then useful for Google or for clients. Or for example, some of the intern projects end up in YouTube and you can show them to your family, which is really cool. So yeah, that's the kind of things I did.
That's actually cool, yeah, to share, mom, look what I did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Maya?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I was working with different big brands. I cannot share the actual names, but for instance, it is a global, like very famous marketplace for clothes, for instance. And we were working on some business strategies, how to improve sales, for instance, or like how to improve the user experience within the website and general like product with the Google's products. So we analyzed like target audiences, like global business goals for that particular region, for instance, how we can implement that with Google, and proposed different directions. And like also I have just few targets within my team as well. So I should just promote some of the new features of Google, like Google Ads, for instance. And I was always like contemplating some of the solutions, how I can promote that to that particular brand or something like that. And it was also sometimes a little bit challenging as well, since sometimes like the brand and their performance is quite like good, and you just should think how you can help them. And Google basically in this very case is like consultants. So we are consulting those brands in terms of business strategy and marketing strategy, with using of Google products, for instance, Google Ads. So it was quite interesting. And those like there were lots of those brands. So I was not working only on a particular brand. So there were like around 10 of them or even more. And like each of them has its own strategy, own challenges and goals. And my main goal was to fit in and just make their life a little bit easier with Google.
Thank you. There's another question here asking if there are any operational analytics, research, or computational maths opportunities at all at Google. Viva, I think you didn't mention about them, but I think they've added recently some things like really data analyst internships in America, but that's only for the US offices. I'm not sure if they're considering European applicants for them. And because I was talking about this with some Google employees as well, because I'm studying data science, so I'm more towards the analytics part. They definitely say that I should apply for the product manager, because it's a nice mix between some technical skills and some analytical skills, because it's basically trying to advise some of their customers how to approach some problems and what solution Google can offer, and then you can also do some analytics for their own tools. So you might consider that if you are a bit towards business as well, because it would be it would involve some business skills as well, like talking with customers and so on. So it's kind of a consultancy job, but in tech. It's pretty similar maybe with what Deloitte offers and the Big Four and so on. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what questions you didn't answer. Martin, you can join us as well if you're still around, and the answer is related to you as well. Oh yeah, that's a good question. How do you prepare for the technical interviews? Because obviously you've mentioned, Viviana, that Google has some of them.
I mean, to be honest, for me, it was kind of stressful because they came right when it was exam time. So I don't remember, but a lot of interns do a lot of lead code. I would say the internship interviews are on the level of like medium level lead code questions. So I feel like if you can do those with ease, then you should be good to go. Something I would definitely prepare though is practicing to talk while you code, because essentially the result, like the coding result of your interview is not everything that's going to be judged. Actually, they put a lot of weight on how good you are at explaining what you think and why you chose this approach over the other approach. And this is something that you can't practice just on lead code. That is something that you have to practice like specifically on your own or with friends. So I would definitely recommend that. And then also, of course, like know your basic data structures and algorithms. Doesn't have to be like the most niche thing ever, but you should know the basics and you should know how to compute basic runtime. So yeah, just practice that.
Thank you. What about you, Martini? How did you prepare for the job, for the interview at Amazon?
So not sure you guys saw in my chat, but I did actually mention that for the solutions architect interview, you don't actually need to do leak code. So it's really nice and sense, you don't have to go on the grind and the hustle, which I have done previously, which is really long. But for sort of like with the interview, it's more about just your overall technical knowledge. So about APIs, web design, mobile design. And I'd say the best place to just learn about that is Medium. You can see some really great articles on Medium. And for example, if you follow like it's just.
You're cutting a bit off, Martin. Can you say that again about the Medium?
Sorry, where did I cut off?
From the Medium, you can find some
Yeah, so as I said, if you look on Netflix engineering blog, you'll just learn how they're doing chaos engineering or API designs and microservices.
So to rephrase, it's a good way to go on Medium and then try to find the specific job you're applying and then understand a bit more about them, right? Hopefully. So I think probably our connection or your connection is a bit off. What about you, Maya? Because there's a difference between all of these internships.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I guess that I was just Googling lots of questions in terms of business internships. To be honest, I was just Googling how to prepare to business internship, what are the questions for role related, for Googliness, etc. Then I was just searching the platform which Google what's sending to me before interview. So there was like a sales platform or something like that, and there was lots of information about their process, how they are working with the clients, etc. So I was just reviewing all of that information and trying to Google additional information about that. So for instance, like who's a salesperson at Google and how you should act in particular situations. So like I was searching a lot of sources like Quora and those where you can find information. And also I was asking few business interns who already received an offer or Googlers in a GCS team, and they were sharing some of the examples of questions. But basically, I guess I received lots of information from that email, which recruitment team of Google sent to me, and that was like basically everything what I need. But except of that, I was Googling just questions and had a list of around 200 or even more questions, and then I answered them beforehand to be just prepared. And in some cases, I even prepare for 2 different answers. For instance, for behavioral questions like when was the last time you failed, I was preparing like 2 or 3 cases, so that if both of the interviewers will ask me that question, I will have just 2 different cases, which will be a plus for me in the end.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Definitely, it's worth having 2 answers for the same question. Some other things, any tips on getting the technical interview stage after applying? It's basically about your resume. If your resume stands out, you're going to get a technical. It's similar for all these applications. You don't have anything else to do. You just need to tailor your resume to the internship that you're applying to. And Vivian actually shared a really good resource from, I think it's from Google, right? They have like an online session when they speak about how to do your resume, and it's really good. I really took the advice from that, and I didn't manage to get to Google, to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, but I did manage to get some interviews back home when where I wanted to work for the summer, because I didn't want to do anything remotely. So yeah. Some other
Another
question.
tip there is, if you know someone, you have worked closely with someone who works at Google now, then they can refer you. A referral gives you more visibility on the CV for the recruiters, and that gives you a higher chance to be selected for interviews.
Yeah, but then.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, sorry, go on. I'll interrupt.
Yeah, that's mostly possible before the application, but you can also apply and then ask someone for a referral. I'm not sure how exactly the mechanism then works, but
it just attaches to your application. It's because
yeah,
it's
it said something weird when I was trying that, but
oh, okay, I see.
Let's try that for sure.
Yeah, I knew that. You just need to share your email and then it's going to sync. Anyway, if you apply this, yeah, we answered that thing. Yeah. What technologies do you recommend learning for Google Step? Oh, we don't actually have anybody that did Step here. I think they are not asking for particular technologies, but they want to see some practical experience in projects and you did throughout the university. Because
yeah, basically I know that for STEP internships there are no like exact programming languages, but I know that if you have some university projects in C++ or Python, it can be a plus, because I remember lots of and JavaScript, I believe, but because lots of my friends who were STEP interns were working with Python and C++ in the university. So just for your information, or it can be Go as well, I guess.
yeah, what I would actually say is that just look on the resources from Google on how to do your resume, because that's the most important thing. because last year we had Andrea and she didn't actually have any referral and still got the job or still got the internship. So you don't need to stress that much about getting a referral if your resume really stands out and you have the matching that the job asks from you.
Yeah. And just wanted to add that basically I received first year I didn't receive even the invitation to the phone interview because of my CV. And after this time, I realized some of the mistakes. And the next year, my CV was almost the same, but with a few fixes. And that basically helped me to go to the next stage, even though both times were with the referrals. So it's just for you that CV is quite important in this very case.
Yes, yes. There's a question about the transcript. I think you can just take a screenshot of the grade that you already have, and if not, that's all right. You can go for the step as Viviana said. But yeah, that's all for the chat. I don't think there's anything else on Slido. Yeah, there's nothing else on Slido. We're at the end of the event. If you want to add anything else, go ahead. If not, we can end it here. And thanks a lot for coming. It was really a pleasure to have you again. Yeah, we might actually ask for a presence soon if we come up with something interesting for you too. So yeah.
Thanks everyone. Keep in touch. Like, feel free to reach me out in terms of CV or any additional questions related to business internship. And good luck.
Yeah, good luck to everybody. We'll share all the resources from the speakers with you in an email.
Yeah.
You'll have the contacts, the slides, and everything there. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. By the way, I can share that presentation, which is a little bit more complex, with some additional pieces of advice in terms of CV and interview. I guess it will be even more informative for those who are planning to apply.
Yeah, that would be much appreciated from everybody. I'm really sure.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Vivian,
you.
are you actually in the Google office right now?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, late work. We'll continue working afterwards.
Oh, I'm sorry for you. Thanks a lot for coming, though.
Yeah, thanks for inviting. I hope it was helpful. I answered some more stuff in the chat, so
yeah, so thanks for that.
Specific questions, just reach out on LinkedIn, I guess.
Yeah, sure thing.
All right.
Have a lovely day, everybody.